Welcome to The Road Less Traveled, where I talk about every topic that has ever roamed my mind and has led me to this very moment today. Please join me. Welcome back. I'm glad you can make it to today's episode. A concept that I'm about to mention is super easy to understand until it's really time to break it down into different areas of our lives. I'm going to ask you to do a lot of different things in this episode, so you might want to have a notebook in hand and a pencil in hand. Have you ever heard of the saying, everything is a reflection of you? Or you probably have read about it somewhere online. The cool thing about reflection is that we can change what is being reflected back at us, hence the mirror, right? For the majority of our youth, we have learned to mirror our parents and even people our own ages until we get older and realize we don't want to do that behavior anymore or act that way. The concept is simple, but what does it do to our brains when we are conditioned to do a behavior that is bad for us or brings out a side of us that is not our best selves? Right now, I want you to start thinking of a particular behavior that brings out the worst in you, and then I also want you to think about a positive behavior within you that brings out the best in you. Consider where those two behaviors might have been learned. Who taught it to you? Did you learn it from a parent, a book, a movie character, a teacher, or did you formulate that habit and or character on your own? Once you get the hang of outlining those behaviors and analyzing them, as I said in the beginning, I want you to do what I did with my Harry Potter obsession. Now, I knew this movie spoke to me because I watched it over and over. Pick something you really like and admire. It can be anything of your choosing. A book, a movie character, a teacher, or even your favorite way to cook a dish. So this is like the second part. So first I want you to do positive and negative, and then I want you to do a fascinating thing that you like. Then I want you to do an intensive study on that person or thing, and I want you to really unpack what it is about it that speaks to you. This activity can be really fun when you look at the qualities, benefits, talents, or just the overall personality of that thing and break it down that way. Those were just suggestions, but you can characterize them any way you see fit. This is going to take you probably a day, a week, or maybe a month if you take it seriously. But I want you to give it a try. The way that we understand ourselves is about understanding what is being shown to us through our own eyes. This is simply how we formulate opinions and build ideas and lenses when we take shape of the things we want to demonstrate. So please pay attention. I love a good challenge. So this is where the study gets a little tricky. I want you to unpack, after you do the first two things, every single person you interact with. If they are important, then give it a try. Everyone you encounter is placed in your life for a reason, so no interaction is worth nothing. Study their behaviors and demeanors so you can pinpoint what it is about them that brought you guys together. A pet, like a dog or a cat, is much easier to understand because their most foundational behaviors are usually standard throughout their natural lives unless the owner has to train their pet a certain behavior. But once that pattern is set, it just gets less and less apparent as the pet ages. Understanding other humans, though, is much more complex. So first, you're going to analyze your own behaviors. You're going to look at positive and negative. Then you're going to look at something that fascinates you, and you're going to analyze that, which can be a movie, a book, a teacher, or anything, right? And then after you finalize that, you're going to move on to understanding other people. I will tell you that I have studied every single person I know personally, or people who are important in my journey that I might not speak to every day, and what positive and negative qualities they have. Please remember that a negative quality is your own justification, not something you read online. And most of the time, that person is being tested. So I want you to be broad when identifying those negative traits. It is important that we do not put on a lens during this time to project any filters onto the people we know and care about. It's crazy to say don't look at something that's negative within a person, but we need dark versus light at the end of the day. It's at your discretion, so whatever you feel. This will be a forever going journey if you have a lot of people in your life. I have a small group of people, so I got through this exercise much quicker, and it helped me surround myself with good people that best reflected me. If you understand yourself through others, and they are quote unquote different from you, but you guys are good friends, then there may or may not be some shadow work that needs to be looked into. This can help you. I want you to give it a try. I also want you to consider if that person is a healthy part of you or if that person is not good for you anymore, because you either no longer want to be shown that reflection of who you should have turned out to be or have been before because you've changed or want change to appear. Once you figure out why that person is important to your journey, you can decide what other parts of your life can be examined further. Now, this is just a very extensive exercise, and I promise you it takes a lot of years to really get this down. I will tell you a real experience to reinforce how serious I take this part of the journey. At this point in my journey, though, I was fed up with my circumstances, so I was not looking forward to much of anything. I'm like, can we get the fuck out of here? But, it is what it is. Deep down in my core, I felt kind of drained, and I knew I was missing some seriousness. When I first met this person officially, I was not the most enthusiastic person around, and I hardly had anything truly to say. Like, you ever just walk around and you're just like, it's just one of those moments. I wanted to basically get my work done and go home, so this was in the workplace. I was tired of the idea that I had to bear witness to the lack of seriousness, especially in the workplace. Nobody around me took pride in their work, and it was honestly just boring. When I ignored the noise, I quickly juggled tasks and responsibilities in such a short time. I was super focused. I was basically like, fuck this job, respectfully. I did some research on my astrology again, and it said, girl, you prefer to work by yourself because you're super critical to how others work. And I was like, oh my God, please don't tell me that. Like, that's so crazy. Like, girl, why are you like this? This is just one of those behaviors I try not to express out loud. Instructions have to be clear, and important details have to be understood for me to do my best work. I went to one of my administrators one time and told them how serious I was about my next steps because being sidelined while also being the leader of a collective was confusing to me. Anyways, I found my way to a coworker who was speaking my professional language, like finally, thank goodness. They were structured and organized in their work. I didn't feel confused. I didn't have to ask myself a million follow-up questions on my ride home about what to do next because I already knew how to respond. I was able to work hard with no afterthought. We were not at two different levels of understanding about the duties and responsibilities. In such a short time, I grew fond of them. And then I started to pay attention to them in terms of their behavior, and I was getting to understand why they were so important for me to understand, right? They acted like me in so many ways. I was mind blown because I didn't have a chance to get to see myself in other people as spot on as this person. They carried and demonstrated qualities in front of me that I started to recognize as my kind of energy early on. This can get a little scary and uneasy when you meet people who are not just similar but uncanny in how similar they are to you. This story is missing a few important elements because I am giving you a baseline to how this looked for me. But all in all, they continue to be a valuable part of the big picture, and the experience was a huge eye-opener for me. It helped me understand myself a little better. It also helped me appreciate why I operate the way I do. I recommend paying more attention to the people we surround ourselves with, or the people we get to meet for the first time, because sometimes the reflection we see is even more exciting to discover once we figure it out. I want to end this by saying we have to be more actively aware of our experiences as well as everything around us that helps us better understand who we are. Take note of the things you watch, read, and consume on a daily basis. In order to grasp these concepts, you have to first open up your eyes, but it takes someone willing. I'll catch you in the next one.